Even with all the information available today, young adults suffering from bipolar disorder still face a stigma in our society that can lead to isolation and make the disease worse. That's one of the reasons Leah Nakamura co-founded a Depression Bipolar Support Alliance in Arlington Heights, Illinois, with help from a grant from the United Methodist Foundation of the Northern Illinois Conference. Let's welcome Leah, along with Sarah and Chris, who both have bipolar disorder and are members of the support group. Thank you, all three of you, for being willing to be here and talk about your experience.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sarah, could you tell us, first of all, a little bit about what bipolar disorder is?
Sure. Well, bipolar mood disorder is basically a mental illness in which people who suffer from it are oftentimes burdened with anxiety or depression and mania, which can affect their social life, their academic life, as well as their occupations.
Okay, so all facets of life, it sounds like.
Basically.
And Leah, could you tell us what it was that led you to start up the Alliance?
My husband and I founded a support group for people with depression and bipolar disorder 7 years ago. And in that length of time, we kept getting phone calls from worried parents who wanted to find some sort of help and support for their children. And children ranged in age from 13 to 25. Finally, after many years, Sarah and her parents turned to me and said, it's time for us to start a group for Sarah. So Sarah was 17 at the time? 17. We started that group, that was almost 3 years ago, and we've been rolling ever since.
Well, it sounds like you were able to meet Sarah's need. Chris, could you tell us more about the need? Why is it hard for young people with bipolar or depression to find one another?
It's hard to find one another because bipolar disorder strikes at any time and during a person's life. Like for Sarah, for example, it struck her at age 16, and it hit me at 21. So because it can strike at any time, it's hard to meet another person with it. And so that's why this group really is great for being able to meet other people with the same disorder.
And Leah, what were your hopes of what the group would do?
Food, folks, and fun.
Okay.
I found as a parent, it's easiest to get my son to talk if he's got something in his mouth. And so I thought maybe the same thing would work with young adults. So we tried having a snack and yak once a month where we would gather at a restaurant locally and eat and talk and share a little bit about how things were going or what difficulties somebody was encountering. And then they wanted to have fun. So once a month we have a snack and yak, and once a month we have fun. So we do some sort of activity. Next month we'll be doing a speaker presentation. The month after that, we'll be going to trampoline together.
Oh, fun.
We just finished ice skating.
That sounds great. Mm-hmm. So I think people, when they hear a support group, don't necessarily think of going to have fun. So that's wonderful.
Right.
Are any of you comfortable sharing some of your own story about your diagnosis and what that was like for you?
I'm sure. Well, for me, my diagnosis occurred when I was in college, my senior year. Mm. An unknown fact that a lot of people don't know is that 50% of people with bipolar disorder also suffer from a substance abuse problem. And so I was using a substance to self-medicate my depression at the time. I didn't know I was bipolar or had a depression disorder. And it caused me to go manic eventually. And after being manic for about a month, being full-blown manic for about a month, I landed in a hospital and then was hospitalized for a week, and then came home and was still manic for another 6 months before I was able to recover fully. And then from there, my substance abuse problem occurred again, went to rehab, got depressed, and now I'm on medication that is good for my anxiety and good for my antipsychoticness, and it's a good mood stabilizer, so I'm good now.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that, Chris. Being a senior in school, did you have any friends or peers that you could share what was going on?
I did talk to everybody that I was with. Part of mania is rapid thoughts, and you want to talk as fast as possible and explain things to as many people as possible. And in my mania, I came up with some grand ideology that I thought was, the way to live. And so I was sharing it with everybody I could. And some people were like, well, you should maybe write a book about that. And others were like, maybe you should get help.
Okay.
And when I finally approached my professor about it, he actually called the police and got me my help.
Oh, thank goodness. Calling the police probably wasn't what you'd hoped to get, but I'm glad you got help.
Yeah.
Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Of course. Well, I was probably around the average age, maybe on the younger side of being diagnosed. I just turned 16. It was the summer of my 16th birthday. And I had gone on a mission trip. I was gone for about a week. And during that time, I hadn't slept very well, and I wasn't eating, and I was working out in the hot sun all day. And so something was triggered in my brain down there, and I came home, and I would be fine for a few days, and then I would be very irritable, and I would be very demanding, and I wasn't being very coherent most of the time, and I wouldn't sleep very well. And so
Did you think something was wrong?
no, in fact, most people when they are manic don't realize that they are in fact manic, because their thoughts are so skewed that you can't see past your mania. And so it took about a month for me to be hospitalized. My dad and we rode in the ambulance together, and I was taken to ER, and I stayed in the hospital for 3 weeks, and ever since then I've been recovering. This will be my 4th year in July that I've been mania free, so.
Excellent, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you again for your willingness to share all of this. So Leah, it sounds like you were a parent of someone suffering with bipolar.
No, I have bipolar
You do?
1 myself.
Okay.
My bipolar disorder started at the age of 43, following my husband's heart attack. I stopped sleeping, and I really stopped sleeping. I would sleep an hour a night and then not be tired. So that's one of the symptoms of having bipolar disorder, this lack of sleep and still having plenty of energy to get things done. People who have mania are often a lot of fun to be around. We have glowing personalities and lots of big ideas and wild ideas of how to get those wild ideas going and so forth. It's not easy to be as depressed, so being the life of the party is a lot more fun than being depressed.
Right.
And bipolar disorder has both poles, being very high and being very low, moving between those.
Which might look like being really social and then isolation.
Yes.
Right? Is that-
Yes.
Can any of you speak to why this is something faith communities should be taking on? You're sponsored by the United Methodist Church. Why is mental health and faith a good relationship?
I think that a lot of what the church teaches, a lot of any faith would teach is to be all-encompassing and like open arms, to invite everyone to attend and be welcome.
Well, thank you so much to you, Chris, and Sarah, and to Leah for being here today and for sharing your stories. I'm Polly Toner for Different Drummers and the Greater Chicago Broadcast Ministries. Keep the faith.